This story centers on a man who lends money to a family member in need, only to discover that the money was used for personal gain. The narrative explores the complex dynamics of family relationships, the emotional impact of betrayal, and the protagonist's decision to pursue a course of action that holds the family member accountable. It's a tale of financial deception, broken trust, and the consequences of one's actions, ultimately leading to a powerful message about responsibility and justice. I lent my uncle $7,000 to help him get back on his feet. A month later, he was posting vacation pics from Paris. "You'll survive," he texted. I just smiled, blocked his number, and moved on. Now he's drowning in debt, and I wake up to 30 missed calls every morning. The first red flag should have been him showing up at my workplace without warning. Uncle Kevin just appeared in our lobby on a random Tuesday, wearing what I later realized was a brand new suit, his hair freshly cut in that precise way that screams, "I'm trying to look trustworthy." Kenneth, my favorite nephew, he beamed at me like we were at a family reunion. Not in my professional workspace at 2 p.m. The receptionist was already giving me that look, you know, the one where they're trying to figure out if they should call security. I hadn't seen Kevin in months, not since Christmas, when he'd given this long dramatic speech about how 2025 was going to be his year of transformation. Looking back, I should have noticed how he kept steering every conversation toward money that night. "Just 5 minutes," he said, holding up his hands in that pleading way he always did when he wanted something. "I've got an opportunity I need to run by you." Those 5 minutes turned into an hour at the coffee shop next door. Kevin had always been good at talking. It's probably why he kept landing decent jobs despite his track record. He'd spin these elaborate stories about workplace conspiracies or jealous colleagues whenever he got fired, and somehow they always made perfect sense in the moment. This time was different. He insisted he'd found a sure thing, a chance to partner with a former colleague in a business venture. All he needed was some capital to get started, just until the paperwork cleared. He kept saying, $7,000, that's all I need to secure my spot. I had the money, that was the thing. I'd been saving for a down payment, and Melissa and I weren't planning to buy for another year. The responsible part of my brain was screaming at me to say no, but then Kevin started talking about how he'd helped raise me after Dad died. "Remember that science fair project?" he said, stirring his third cup of coffee. "Stayed up all night helping you build that volcano. Your dad would have been so proud that day." He wasn't wrong. Kevin had been there for every major moment after we lost Dad, the graduations, the first breakup, my first job. He taught me how to tie a tie, how to change a tire, all those things dads are supposed to teach their sons. I made him sign a contract. That's what I keep telling myself now, that I wasn't completely naive. Melissa helped me write it up, her face tight with concern the whole time. "Are you sure about this?" she kept asking. "Something feels off." The contract specified 6 months for repayment with clear installment dates. Kevin signed it with his flourish, like he was doing me a favor by accepting my terms. "You're so much like your father," he said, "always wanting everything in writing. But family is family, right?" For 2 weeks, everything seemed fine. Kevin sent regular updates about meetings and paperwork. He even Venmo'd me $200 as a good faith first payment. I started to think maybe I'd been too suspicious, too cynical. Then Deborah called. "Did you see Kevin's Facebook?" My sister's voice had that tone, the one that meant I wasn't going to like what came next. "He just checked in at some fancy restaurant in Paris, the one with the Eiffel Tower view." I thought she was joking. Kevin had told me he was going to a business meeting in Cincinnati that weekend, but there they were, the photos. Kevin grinning at a table loaded with food I couldn't pronounce, wine glasses everywhere. The timestamp was 2 hours old. I texted him immediately. "Explain the Paris photos?" 3 hours later, his response, "Don't worry about it, kid. You'll survive. It's just money. Just money. The money I'd been saving for 2 years. The money that was supposed to help build my future. The money I trusted him with because he was family." The last photo he posted that night was of the Eiffel Tower lit up against the dark sky. The caption read, "Some opportunities are priceless. Living my best life." I spent that night going through old family photos, trying to reconcile the man who taught me how to ride a bike with the one who had just stolen my savings. Melissa sat with me, not saying much, just being there. When I finally looked up, it was dawn. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I blocked his number, removed him from all social media, and told my workplace security not to let him in if he showed up again. It wasn't dramatic or vengeful, just quiet, definitive actions that felt like closing a door. That was a month ago. This morning, I woke up to 30 missed calls from unknown numbers, texts from various family members saying Kevin's trying to reach me. Apparently, he's in some kind of trouble. I haven't responded to any of them. Instead, I'm sitting here watching the sunrise, feeling strangely calm. Because for the first time in my life, I'm seeing Uncle Kevin clearly, and I'm done being the safety net for a man who never learned how to stand on his own. They say family is everything, but sometimes family is the one teaching you exactly who not to be. Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and things have taken an interesting turn. Remember those Paris vacation photos? Turns out they were just the beginning of what I'm starting to call Kevin's European adventure, funded by my savings, of course. The morning after I discovered the first set of photos, my phone lit up with a message from Stephanie, Kevin's daughter. We've never been particularly close. She's younger than me and lived with her mom after the divorce, but her message caught my attention. I'm so sorry about what Dad did. He does this to everyone. I should have warned you. Over coffee the next day, Stephanie filled in the gaps. This wasn't just a spontaneous trip to Paris. Kevin had been planning this for months. The business opportunity he'd sold me on? Complete fiction. The new suit, the haircut, the pitch, all part of his routine. He did the same thing to Mom's parents right before the divorce. Borrowed $12,000 for a foolproof investment. 2 weeks later, he was in Vegas. Took Mom 3 years to pay her parents back. While we were talking, Kevin posted more photos. London, Amsterdam, Milan, each post more extravagant than the last. Designer clothes, Michelin star restaurants, 5-star hotels. My $7,000 was funding quite the European tour. The captions were what really got to me. Living the dream. Life's too short for regrets, and my personal favorite, sometimes you have to take what you deserve. Deborah, my sister, was livid. She'd always been the skeptical one about Kevin, even when we were kids. He's not just stealing your money, she said during our weekly dinner. He's rubbing your face in it. He thinks there won't be consequences. She was right. The more I looked back, the more I saw the pattern. Kevin had always lived like this, taking what he wanted, consequences be damned. But this time was different. This time, he'd picked the wrong person to manipulate. Melissa suggested we file a police report, but I had a better idea. Instead of chasing him, I decided to let him dig his own grave. I had the signed contract, documented evidence of the loan, and now a growing collection of social media posts showing exactly how he'd spent the money. Then came the text message. As his European funds started running low, Kevin's tone changed. The first one was casual. Hey, kid, might need to adjust our repayment schedule. I didn't respond. Aaron, don't be like this. Family helps family, still nothing. You're acting just like your father, always so rigid about money. That one almost got me, almost. But I remembered what Stephanie had said about patterns, about how Kevin always knew exactly which buttons to push. The final message came at 3 a.m. my time. Fine, be that way. I gave up years of my life helping raise you, and this is how you repay me. By abandoning family when they need you? You'll regret this attitude, kid. I took screenshots of everything, every message, every post, every transaction. Then I did something that probably surprised him. I sent it all to Rebecca, his ex-wife. He's been doing this for 20 years, she wrote back almost immediately, but no one's ever documented it like this before. The real bombshell dropped yesterday. Stephanie called again, this time with news that made everything click. Uncle Kevin wasn't just on a vacation spree. He'd taken out loans from 3 other family members before coming to me. My $7,000 was just part of a bigger scheme. He told Aunt Sharon it was for medical bills, Stephanie explained. He convinced Uncle Brian it was for a food truck business, got $5,000 from Mom's cousin for emergency surgery. The total was almost $30,000, all collected within 2 months, all spent on his European self-discovery journey. This morning, his latest post showed him back in Paris, but something was different. The smile looked strained, the expensive restaurant was replaced by a street cafe, the designer clothes were gone, and there was a hint of panic in his eyes. Then came the voicemail. Kenneth, we need to talk. Things are getting complicated over here. I might need a little help getting home, just a small loan. I'll pay everything back, I swear. I played the message for Melissa. She looked at me, waiting for my reaction. You know what's interesting? I said, deleting the voicemail. He still thinks he's in control. Still thinks he can talk his way out of this. My phone buzzed again. Probably another family member is convinced to plead his case. But here's the thing about burning bridges. Once they ash, no amount of smooth talking can rebuild them. I heard Uncle Kevin's got about 3 days left in his hotel before his card maxes out. After that, well, I guess he'll find out what it's really like to need help getting back on his feet. And me? I've got a front row seat to watch karma do its work. Sometimes the best revenge is simply stepping aside and letting someone face the consequences of their own actions. Update 2. 3 months of silence ended with a knock on my door at 6 a.m. I wasn't surprised to see Uncle Kevin standing there. I was surprised it took him this long to show up. He looked different. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by a wrinkled dress shirt that had seen better days. His usual confident smile was replaced by something more desperate, more raw. "Just hear me out," he said, holding up his hands like he used to do. 10 minutes, that's all I need. I closed the door. He stayed outside for 2 hours, alternating between knocking and calling my phone. Melissa wanted to call the police, but I knew better. Uncle Kevin thrives on reaction, any reaction. Instead, I made coffee, got ready for work, and walked right past him when I left. "Kenneth, please," he called after me. "They're going to take my house." I kept walking. That's when the real storm hit. Turns out, Uncle Kevin's European adventure wasn't just funded by family loans. He'd taken out 3 high-interest credit cards, maxed them all out, and somehow convinced a loan shark in Paris to help him out when things got tight. Stephanie called me later that day. "Dad's being evicted next week," she said, her voice tired. "He asked if he could stay with me in my dorm room." "What did you say?" I asked. "I told him I learned from the best," she replied. "Sometimes you have to block toxic family members." Uncle Kevin's desperation tour wasn't just limited to me anymore. He showed up at Deborah's yoga studio, crying about how he might end up homeless. He tried to convince Melissa to talk some sense into me when she was leaving the gym. He even tracked down Rebecca at her new place, begging her to co-sign a loan. The family started taking sides. The older generation, the ones who remembered Uncle Kevin from his good years, thought I was being cruel. "He helped raise you," my Aunt Sharon kept saying. "You can't just abandon him." But the younger cousins? They started coming forward with their own Uncle Kevin stories. Missing college funds, borrowed cars that disappeared for weeks, investment opportunities that somehow always fell through. "He took my first paycheck," my cousin Timothy told me over beers. "Said he'd invest it for me. Never saw that money again." The real shock came when Rebecca forwarded me an email from a detective in Paris. Apparently, Uncle Kevin hadn't just borrowed from that loan shark. He'd sold him a story about a guaranteed investment opportunity. Now, there were some very unhappy people looking for their money. I didn't reply to the detective. Instead, I sent the email to Uncle Kevin with one line. "Consequences feel different when they're actually yours to face, don't they?" His response was immediate. "I need $20,000 to make this go away. Please, Kenneth, I'll lose everything like I lost my savings." I texted back, "Like all the other family members you've stolen from. Lost their money?" That was different. I was going to pay everyone back. I had a plan, and now I'm really in trouble. "These aren't nice people, Kenneth. They're threatening me." I screenshotted the conversation and sent it to my entire family group chat along with the detective's email. "This is what enabling looks like," I wrote. "This is why it has to stop." The tide turned after that. Even Aunt Sharon stopped defending him. The family united in a way I'd never seen before, not in support of Uncle Kevin, but in finally standing against him. Yesterday, Uncle Kevin lost his house. Today, he's apparently sleeping in his car outside my apartment complex. He doesn't know I can see him from my window, trying to figure out his next move. Melissa thinks he'll leave town soon, try to start fresh somewhere else. Deborah's betting he'll find another relative to manipulate. Stephanie just hopes he'll finally hit rock bottom and get help. Me? I'm watching him pace beside his car, phone pressed to his ear, probably trying to work another angle. But his usual audience isn't picking up anymore. His calls go unanswered, his messages are unread, his manipulations falling flat against walls he never expected us to build. And that loan shark from Paris? Just called Uncle Kevin's phone. I know, because I heard his ringtone through my open window. Watched him stare at the screen with real fear before letting it go to voicemail. Sometimes, revenge isn't about what you do, it's about what you stop doing. Stop enabling, stop believing, stop hoping, and start watching as someone's carefully constructed world of lies crumbles under the weight of their own choices. Uncle Kevin's looking up at my window now. He knows I'm here. I know I'm watching. For the first time in his life, he's facing a consequence he can't talk his way out of. And I'm not looking away. Finally, update. It's funny how karma works. Last night, while Uncle Kevin was still sleeping in his car outside my apartment, I made a single phone call that changed everything. Remember that Paris detective's email? Turns out, he was very interested in what I had to say. The morning started with a bang, literally. Uncle Kevin was banging on my door again, but this time his voice had a different edge to it. "They're coming for me," he shouted. "You have to help me." I opened the door. This time, I just stood there looking at him. The man who taught me to ride a bike was now shaking, his eyes darting around like a cornered animal. "I sent them everything," I said calmly. "Every text, every email, every photo from your European vacation, even that contract you signed." His face went from desperate to pale in seconds. "You didn't," he whispered. "I did," I said. "And not just to the detective. I sent it to everyone you borrowed from, every family member, every credit card company, every loan shark. They all know exactly where you are now." He tried to push past me into the apartment, but I blocked with one arm. "Remember when you said, you'll survive, it's just money? Well, now it's your turn to survive." That's when his phone started ringing. Unknown number with a French country code. Uncle Kevin stared at it like it was a snake about to strike. "You should answer that," I suggested. "They'll just keep calling." Hours later, Deborah called me with news that made everything worth it. Uncle Kevin had tried to withdraw money from his remaining accounts only to find them all frozen. Every single one. Turns out, when multiple fraud reports come in simultaneously from different countries, banks take notice. Stephanie texted next. "Dad just called Mom crying. Said something about people coming to collect." "What did you do?" she asked. "What did I do?" I replied. "I simply made sure everyone knew the truth, all of it at once." By afternoon, Uncle Kevin's carefully constructed house of cards was in freefall. The loan shark's associates had arrived, not to hurt him but to serve him with legal papers. Multiple fraud charges across international borders. His passport was flagged, his assets were frozen, his reputation was destroyed. But here's the best part. Remember that contract he signed of mine for my $7,000? I had it notarized, made copies, filed it properly. While Uncle Kevin was posting photos from Paris, I was building a paper trail that would hold up in court. Melissa watched from our window as Uncle Kevin paced outside, making frantic phone calls that went unanswered. "Think he'll ever recover from this?" she asked. "No," I replied. "That's the point." The family meeting that evening was something else. Everyone on video chat, sharing stories, comparing notes. Uncle Kevin had taken so much from so many people. Now they had leverage, legal, documented leverage. Rebecca summarized it best. "He's not just broke. He's radioactive. No one will lend to him again. No family will trust him. No bank will touch him. He's finally facing what he's done." Last I heard, Uncle Kevin was trying to sell his car for plane ticket money, but with his passport flagged and accounts frozen, there's nowhere left to run. The loan shark lawyers made sure of that. This morning, I woke up to an envelope under my door. A handwritten letter from Uncle Kevin. I didn't read it. Instead, I added it to the file I've been building, evidence of every attempt at manipulation, every lie, every scheme. The car's gone from outside now. Uncle Kevin too, but I'm not worried about where he went. See, the beauty of international fraud charges is that someone's always watching. Always tracking, always waiting. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I say it's best served with paperwork. Lots and lots of paperwork. To everyone who said I was being too harsh, too unforgiving, this was never about the money. This was about justice, about consequences, about making sure that every single person Uncle Kevin ever scammed gets their day in court. And me? I'm sleeping just fine, because sometimes the best revenge isn't just watching someone's world burn. It's making sure they can never rebuild it from the ashes. Uncle Kevin's last text came an hour ago. "You've destroyed my life." My response was simple. "No, I just showed everyone who you really are. You destroyed your own life, one lie at a time." Then I blocked his new number, poured myself a coffee, and sat down to write this final update. Because sometimes, the best endings aren't about forgiveness or redemption. Sometimes they're about watching justice finally catch up to someone who thought they'd always outrun it. And honestly, it feels pretty damn good. My uncle, Kevin, showed up at my work out of the blue, asking for a $7,000 loan. He spun this whole story about a business opportunity, and I, stupidly, let myself get talked into it. I even made him sign a contract, but I should have known better. 2 weeks later, I'm seeing pictures of him in Paris, living it up. Turns out, my money, my savings, was funding his vacation. He basically told me to get over it. That's when I decided I was done being his safety net. I blocked him, started documenting everything, and let him keep digging his hole. Turns out, he'd been pulling the same scam on other family members. 30 grand in total, all gone to finance his European adventure. Things escalated quickly. Creditors came after him, his lies caught up with him, and his world started crumbling. He showed up at my door, desperate, but I didn't budge. I sent all the evidence to the authorities and everyone he owed money to. In the end, it wasn't about the money. It was about holding him accountable for years of manipulation and lies. It was about showing him that actions have consequences. And honestly, watching him finally face those consequences? It's a kind of justice I never thought I'd see.